Good morning, all. So, I'm Jyoti, who is a lecturer in SJ Government Polytechnic in Chemical Engineering Department, Bengaluru. So, we have been learning about the particulate technology, um, and we have learned about the size reduction, the various size reduction size reduction methods, and also we have learned about the loss of crushing process involved in size reduction process. So in continuation with the size reduction technology in our particular technology subject, today we will be learning about the various size reduction equipment classification, and one by one the construction, the working of those the equipments. So based on the size reduction, whether it is of course size reduction, or whether it gives the medium intermediate product during size reduction, or it gives a very fine size reduction size reduced particle during the size reduction process. So in this session we will be learning already told the Blake jaw crusher equipment and the Garrett crusher equipment, the construction, the working of these Blake jaw crusher and the Garrett crusher equipment. And after learning these the Blake jaw crusher and the Garrett crusher equipment, so what is the major differences of using the jaw crusher and the Garrett crushers? So the references also been given in through the videos. A video link is also been given for the better understanding after this session. You can go through those videos which has been given in the references. So classification of the size reduction equipment, classification ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತವೆ, ಕ್ರೋಸ್ ಕ್ರಷರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ, ಮತ್ತು ಇಂಟರ್ಮೀಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಗ್ರೈಂಡರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ, ಫೈನ್ ಗ್ರೈಂಡರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ, ಅಲ್ಟ್ರಾ ಫೈನ್ ಗ್ರೈಂಡರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ, ಮತ್ತು ಕಟ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಿಷಿನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಿಷಿನ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಕ್ರಷ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಎಕ್ವಿಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ದ ಫೈನ್ ಇಂಟರ್ಮೀಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಕ್ರಷ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಸೈಜ್ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಎಕ್ವಿಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ದ ಫೈನ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ರಿಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಎಕ್ವಿಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದು, ಅಲ್ಟ್ರಾ ಫೈನ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಎಕ್ವಿಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಯಾವುದು, ಆಲ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕಮ್ ಅಂಡರ್ these the classification. So the coarse crushers, the jaw crusher, the impact crusher, the Garrett crusher, and the crushing rolls. In the jaw crusher, you'll be learning about the Blake jaw crusher and the George jaw crusher. Under intermediate grinders, you'll be learning about the hammer mills and other impact types, and you'll be learning about the Garrett crushers and also the crushing rolls. So in the fine grinders, you will be learning about the ball mill, tube mill, and the rod mill. And the roll mills and the ball mills and the acquisition mills. So you'll be learning in your syllabus, you'll be learning about the ball mills, tube mills, and the rod mills. In ultra fine grinders, you'll be learning about the hammer mill with the internal classification. The fluid energy mills also you'll be learning. The agitated mills, these are the classification of the equipment which come under the ultra fine grinders. So based on the size reduction of the material. So the cutting machines also you'll be having the knife cutters and also dicers and the slitters. So these are the classification of the equipment based on their reduction of the size, reduction of the materials. So we'll learn today about the Blake jaw crusher and the Garrett crusher. So this is how the Blake jaw crusher looks like. You have a jaw plates, like the corrugations on the jaw plates. It is usually made up of the manganese or the steel material. So this is the front section of the jaw crusher, you can say, you have in your laboratory. So that the working mechanism you'll be learning in your laboratory in the next, and you'll be verifying the loss of the crushing also. After the crushing of the feed material, using the jaw crusher in your second semester. So here you can see, I'll show one more figure regarding this. So here you can clearly understand. The jaws you have seen, just observe the jaws here. These are the jaws we say. So that's what we call it as a jaw crusher, which is a Blake jaw crusher. So the mobile, you can see here the corrugated plate. So this the left side is of the fixed jaw and the right side is of a mobile jaw. The both are being set in a such a way that it forms it is 20 to 30 degree in angle. It forms a V shaped at the to give the product after crushing. So the feed is being admitted at the middle of the jaw crusher. You can observe middle of the opening of the two jaws, fixed jaws and the mobile jaw. This is a mobile jaw which has been pivoted through the pitman and the toggle and the eccentric arrangement. This is how the figure look like. Just observe the diagram. So by observing the diagram, you can imagine the instrument or the size reduction equipment of jaw crusher. Just observe the diagram. Jaw crusher is the feed material, is the crushing process ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. So this is it gives the feed as a coarse material, coarse product. Just observe. So we will go in detail the construction. As I told, it consists of the fixed jaw and the mobile jaw, and which is pivoted at the top. The jaws are set to form a V shape, open at the top, a V shape open at the top, and the mobile jaw reciprocates. So this reciprocate in an horizontal plane makes an angle of 20 to 30 degree with a fixed jaw which is nearly vertical. So this mobile jaw reciprocates with the help of a drive motor to and fro with the help of the pitman and the toggles. It moves to and fro against the fixed jaw. Here the V shape opening in order to admit the feed, and the product is being collected at the bottom of the bottom of the opening. So as it moves to and fro, the crushing action takes place. So the jaws are, as I've already told, the jaws are made up of the manganese, steel or other material. So that will withstand the abrasion. So reduction ಆಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ the hard material na use ಮಾಡ್ತಿರ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ. So hard material may during the reduction process it may damage the equipment itself, the jaw crusher itself. So that use of the manganese steel or the steel the other material of construction of the jaw plates, it can withstand the abrasion. The speed of the operation during the crushing process, the speed of operation ಜಾಸ್ತಿನೂ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು ಕಮ್ಮಿನೂ ಇರಬಾರ್ದು. Otherwise a large quantity of fines will be produced. So the crushing action is intermittent and the loading of the machine is uneven. ನಾವು ಯಾವಾಗ ಬೇಕಾದರೂ ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ಬೋದು. So as it incorporates the high flywheel. So the flywheel, so it incorporates the high flywheel, we say. So it mainly works on the principle of compression. So the material should be which is been to be compressed is admitted between the two jaws. Here in the jaws ಅಲ್ಲಿ admit ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. The material is ನಾವೇನು admit ಮಾಡ್ತೀವೋ ಅದು ಎರಡರ ಮಧ್ಯೆ upper part of the jaw crush ಆಗುತ್ತೆ into a smaller size ಆಗಿ crush ಆಗುತ್ತೆ by the motion of the compression force ಇಂದಾನೆ. As we have already learned what is compression force. ಸೊ ಎರಡು ಹಾರ್ಡ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಮಧ್ಯ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ನ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಫೋರ್ಸಿಂದ ನಾವು ಸೈಜ್ ರಿಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನು ಕಂಪ್ರೆಷನ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಕಂಪ್ರೆಷನ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. ಇದೊಂದು ಜಾ ಮತ್ತು ಇದೊಂದು ಜಾ ಮಧ್ಯ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲು ಬೈ ದ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮೂವಬಲ್ ಜಾಯಿಂದ ಕ್ರಶ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಸೈಜ್ ರಿಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ಬೀನ್ ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಬೈ ದ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಂಪ್ರೆಷನ್, ಬೈ ದ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಂಪ್ರೆಷನ್. ಸೊ ಕ್ರಷ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಅಂದರೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಬರ್ತಾ ನ್ಯಾರೋ ಸ್ಪೇಸಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಬರ್ತಾ ಎಗೇನ್ ಕಂಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟು ಆಚೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆ ಥರ ದ ಕ್ರಷ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ ಸಫಿಷಿಯಂಟ್ ರಿಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಟೈಮ್ ದ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಡ್ರಾಪ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ ಬಾಟಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮಿಷಿನ್. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಓಪನಿಂಗ್ ಮತ್ತು ಕ್ಲೋಸಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಏನದು ದ ಮೂವಬಲ್ ಜಾ ಮತ್ತು ಇದು ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ the fixed jaw will open and close for 250 to 400 times per minute. 1 minute-ಗೆ 250 ಇಂದ 400 times ಆಗುತ್ತೆ in this jaw crusher. I think you have understood this working of the jaw crusher. So we'll move on to the next crusher, which is also a primary crusher, which is called a gyratory crusher. So here you can see the gyratory crusher, the diagram. By seeing the diagram, you should analyze the equipment, how it exactly looks like. So the equipment consists of the cone-shaped shell. So inside which you have a crushing head, and the feed is admitted at the top opening. Then is an eccentric sleeve and the spindle, which helps in the rotation of the crushing head. And the discharge will take place at the bottom of the shell. The space between the wall and the shell, wall of the shell and the crushing head is very small. So it gyrates in motion. And the gyrates ಅಂದರೆ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಈ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಗೈರೇಟರಿ ಮೋಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಹಿಂದೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ರಿವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗಿ ಹಿಂದೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗೋದನ್ನು ಗೈರೇಟರಿ ಮೋಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. So you can see the video for exact understanding, which has been given as a reference at the end of this session. So what exactly? It also works on the principle of compression. So gyratory comes from the fact that we can say the spindle is revolving around the axis of the frame, generating the conical surface ಆಗಿ generate ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So ಅದನ್ನು gyratory motion ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. The crushing head ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, the crushing head is mounted on a heavy shaft pivoted at the top of the machine. This crushing head is pivoted at the top of the machine through the shaft. So the bottom end of the crushing head moves as to and fro towards the wall by gyratory motion here. So the gyratory motion ಏನಿದೆ, it will take place through the whole of the shell, and the maximum motion will be, as you can see, this the area of this the crushing head will increases towards the bottom. So bottom ಅಲ್ಲಿ crushing action ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. So and also bottom ಅಲ್ಲಿ the gyratory motion is maximum, so that the crushing takes place to a maximum extent in order to achieve the crushing efficiency. As we can see, the material is being fed from the top, and the crushing head moves inside the casing, and at the bottom of the conical crusher head moves at maximum to and fro at the bottom. The speed, you can say that it is of 125 to 425 gyrations per minute. It is more than that what we have observed in the previous crusher. So the discharge is continuous, ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಕ್ರಷ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತು ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಅದು ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. But it will not, as the space at the bottom, as the space between the crushing head and the wall of the shell is minimum, and as in equipment compared to the other crusher, it cannot take the maximum, it cannot take a larger feed. So the power consumption is also less here in this type of a crusher, and the low maintenance cost compared to the jaw crusher. So the jaw crusher can take a large feed. So this is about the gyratory crusher. I hope you have understood this. So once again ನಾನು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸರಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಫೀಡನ್ನು ಮೇಲಿಂದ ಹಾಕ್ತೀವಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇದು ಕ್ರಷಿಂಗ್ ಹೆಡ್ಡು. ಸೊ ದ ಕ್ರಷಿಂಗ್ ಹೆಡ್ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಬರ್ತಾ ದೊಡ್ಡದಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಗ್ಯಾರೆಟ್ರಿ ಮೋಷನ್ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಟ್ ದ ಬಾಟಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕ್ರಷರಲ್ಲಿ, ಗ್ಯಾರೆಟ್ರಿ ಕ್ರಷರಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಕ್ರಷಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್ ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಬೈ ದ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕ್ರಷಿಂಗ್ ಹೆಡ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಗ್ಯಾರೆಟ್ರಿ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್ ರಿವಾಲ್ವಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫ್ರೋ. ಸೊ ದ ಫೀಡ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ದ ಡಿಸ್ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಮೇಲೆ ಫೀಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ ಬೈ ಗ್ಯಾರೆಟ್ರಿ ಮೋಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕ್ರಷಿಂಗ್ ಹೆಡ್ ಟುವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ದ ವಾಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಶೆಲ್, the crushing action takes place and the discharge will come at the bottom of the gyratory crusher. So what having the knowledge of the working and the construction of the jaw crusher and the gyratory crusher, now let us see what is the major differences between the jaw crusher and the gyratory crusher. So the jaw crusher ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಎರಡು ಜಾಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಜಾ, ಒಂದು ಮೂವಬಲ್ ಜಾ. ಸೊ ಮೂವಬಲ್ ಜಾ ಹಿಂದೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಹಿಂದೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗೋದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ರೆಸಿಪ್ರೊಕೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಬೈ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಅ ಮೋಟರ್. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ರೆಸಿಪ್ರೊಕೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಿಷಿನ್. ಸೊ ಗ್ಯಾರೆಟ್ರಿ ಕ್ರಷರಲ್ಲಿ ರಿವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಆಗ್ತಾ ವಾಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಹಿಂದೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಗ್ಯಾರೆಟ್ರಿ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಎಸ್ ಅ ಗ್ಯಾರೆಟ್ರಿ ಮಿಷಿನ್. ಸೊ ಇಂಟರ್ಮಿಟೆಂಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಡಿಸ್ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್. ಒಂದು ಸತಿ ಫೀಡ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಡಿಸ್ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಒಂದು ಸತಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ದ ಡಿಸ್ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕ್ರಷರ್, ಇಟ್ ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ದ ಫೀಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಾರ್ಜರ್ ಸೈಜನ್ನು ಫೀಡನ್ನು ತಗೊಳುತ್ತೆ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ರಿ ಕ್ರಷರ್, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಅ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ರಿ ಕ್ರಷರ್, ಗ್ಯಾರೆಟ್ರಿ ಕ್ರಷರ್, ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಫೀಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಅ ಸ್ಮಾಲರ್ ಸೈಜ್ ಫೀಡ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ತಗೊಳುತ್ತೆ. ದ load on the motor is not uniform. The load on the motor is nearly uniform as it has got the huge the crushing head inside the shell. So more maintenance is required, less maintenance is required, more power consumption in the jaw crusher and less power consumption in the gyratory crusher. Overall cost involved in jaw crusher, as it involves a heavy material and it is available in very large sizes, the cost the capital cost is low, whereas here the capital cost is high. So the smaller capacity can be used to produce a smaller size reduction, larger capacity when used to produce a smaller size reduction. So these are the basic differences you can see in a jaw crusher and the gyratory crusher after learning from the construction and the working part of this the primary crushers of jaw crusher and the gyratory crusher. So the questions in this can be asked as after learning this, they might ask the difference they mention the classification of the various size reduction equipments anta kelbodu. Avaga keldaga you have to write about the primary you have to write about the coarse reduction equipments, amele intermediate reduction equipments ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬರೀಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ you have to write about the fine ultra fine reduction equipments ಬಗ್ಗೆ. All those classification could be asked for 10 marks. So all those classification you must remember and you have to write. So and then the in equipment anta bandaga they might ask the individual equipment. They might just ask the sketch the jaw crusher. They just 5 marks ಮಾತ್ರ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ 10 marks ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ sketch and explain the working mechanism of the jaw crusher ಅಥವಾ gyratory crusher ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಆವಾಗ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮು ಬರಿಬೇಕು, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲನೇಷನ್ನು ಬರಿಬೇಕು. ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮಲ್ಲೂ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲನೇಷನಲ್ಲೂ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಇವಾಗ 10 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲನೇಷನ್ ಅಂತಿದ್ದಾಗ you have to write the diagram. The diagram will out of 10 marks the diagram will carry the 4 marks and the remaining 6 marks will for the working mechanism ge carry irutte. So ee ಎರಡು questions the possibility of asking these types of questions in the exam. So the classification ಮತ್ತೆ explanation part of the equipment. So and majorly we have learnt in this session the difference between, that is also could be asked for 5 marks, the difference between the jaw crusher and the gyratory crusher. So that is also important. So the videos and the references are being given here. So the best book for your understanding to the first year level is the Unit Operations 1 by K. Gavane. So you can purchase this book for better understanding, and you can go through these videos in order to have a picturization view of these equipments and the working of these equipment. I hope you have understood by this session. Thank you all for listening to this session.